But you can search more focused on the term Protandim, or more broadly on the term oxidative stress. If you type in oxidative stress and any medical condition that comes to your mind, you'll get, again, a number of hits. If you turn, in this case, oxidative stress and dialysis, which is a procedure that people undergo when they're in kidney failure, you find an amazing 1,113 publications on oxidative stress and dialysis. You can focus even more tightly, if you want to, by searching a topic with NRF2. Again, Protandim, and for newcomers in the audience, I'll explain what NRF2 is and what Protandim does to it in just a moment. But here, if you do a search of cancer and NRF2, that is what NRF2 activating agents do to cancer in various studies, 475 papers already, and this is rapidly expanding. I typed this in to make this screen capture a few days ago, and looking down the first few hits, the hits are arranged by the most recent. So what you see here is a paper that may have just been published within the last few days, and so this number is changing continuously. You see the most recent stuff first. And as I was looking at the results of this hit, I noticed one paper that really changed an important way that I have viewed Protandim vis-a-vis cancer. And I discussed this with a number of you this morning, and this is a big topic, Protandim in cancer patients. And this paper looks at not Protandim, but curcumin, one of our ingredients. And curcumin in and of itself is a NRF2 activator. Protandim is greatly amplified. It works better than curcumin because we've got the synergy of the five, but the mechanism is the same. Curcumin activates NRF2, Protandim activates NRF2 more strongly. And just look at the title of this paper, and I think this can speak to you. It's a little obtuse maybe, but you can look at that title and figure it out. Curcumin, the golden spice from Indian saffron, the researcher here is Dr. Agarwal from India, and he has a particular affinity, I think, for Ayurvedic medicine, for traditional medicine from India. He's at Baylor Medical Center in Houston, Texas, well known in the field of NRF2 activators. So curcumin is a chemosensitizer and radiosensitizer for tumors. What does that mean? Tumors are treated with chemotherapy and with radiation. The reason for treating tumors with those two treatments, and they both increase oxidative stress substantially, is that unlike most other therapies that you get from the doctor that tend to make your cells work better, these two are designed to kill cells, because your body, if you have cancer, contains cells that are rogue cells. They're out of control. They're multiplying, trying to overtake your body. And a concern has been, because chemotherapy and radiotherapy both increase oxidative stress in an attempt to kill cancer cells, there's been a controversy for a number of years. Is antioxidant therapy a good idea here? Because you may actually protect the cells that you want to kill. You're using a therapy to put focused oxidative stress on these cells with the idea of pushing them over the edge, killing them. And therefore, I have recommended to everyone who's asked me for the last 5 years, should I take Protandim if I've got a cancer diagnosis, I'm about to undergo chemotherapy or radiation therapy? And my conservative response has been, because this is controversial, some scientists argue, don't do it because you may protect the cancer. Others have said, do it because you may protect the other tissues more than you protect the cancer. We didn't really have a definitive answer. This paper says activating NRF2 actually sensitizes the tumors to radiation and to chemo. So it's going to have a bigger effect. The other part of that title is just as important. NRF2 activators are chemoprotectors and radioprotectors for normal organs. So imposing a NRF2 activator changes the way that tumors and normal tissues respond to radiation, and it does it in the best possible way. It makes the radiation more effective at eliminating the tumor and less effective at causing damage to the rest of your body. It really is. So again, my point here, this is a changing scenario. Every week, I do these searches myself. I look at the most recent new papers that have just hit the press, and this is the kind of thing I learn. And it changes the way I view Protandim. I said what I say today about it is very different from what I said 4 or 5 years ago, and this is precisely the reason. We're in the middle of a rapidly changing field, and we need to stay tuned to this company and to sites such as PubMed.gov to get the latest information. So don't just sit back and say, I learned about Protandim a year ago, I'm going to use what I learned then. You need to keep at it. I wish it were simpler, but it isn't. It's complicated, so hang in there. Do your best to keep up with this. Do your best to use this as an impressive tool. If you sit down with someone who's trying to decide, should I take this supplement or another supplement, a competing product perhaps, flip open your laptop, type in PubMed.gov and say, what's the other supplement you're concerned about? Type it in. Now, some of them actually do have peer-reviewed published studies, not many. Not many products. Most products you type in, you get no hits at all. It's not there. And they may say, well, the company says on their website it does this, it does that. Okay, if it's true, they should submit it to a journal. They should get a peer-reviewed published paper. Then it will mean something. Right? So use these tools. They are very, very powerful. The second part of this, my stay tuned theme, is stay tuned with Protandim. And I'm using a slightly different definition of tuned in this case, but I think it works well. And I'm going to interject one slide here. I know there are a lot of new people in the audience who haven't heard me talk before. It's always a dilemma because I know there are new people. Should I go back to square one and use this time to reiterate what Protandim is, how it works? And my concern is there's a lot of new stuff I want to talk to you about. And so there's a dilemma. Do I try to bring everyone up to speed? Maybe the best solution if you're new, look at the website, look at some of the previous presentations that may start at square one and fill you in. But for those of you who are new to this group, let me explain what Protandim is and what it does. Protandim is a NRF2 activator, and I realize that doesn't say anything to you guys if you're not a biochemist or have a PhD in some biomedical science. But I'm going to tell you very briefly what a NRF2 activator is and what it does. It can be viewed as a biochemical wake-up call. Literally, these substances are messengers. And the way Protandim acts, and many of you have seen this before, but this is the single summary slide of what Protandim does when it approaches a human cell. And so in the upper right there, you see something labeled Protandim. You've just taken a Protandim. It's found its way into your bloodstream. It's reaching every cell in your body. And when Protandim approaches any human cell, there are receptors on the surface of that cell. It's the analogy I use. It's like Protandim steps on your front porch, and it rings your doorbell. What happens inside that cell is there's a change occurring, just like when your chime goes off or your doorbell rings. Pushing the button outside has caused a change inside. In this case, an enzyme has been activated. An enzyme is a machine that does something chemically within the cell. In this case, it's a kinase. You don't have to remember that. And here it's signified by being activated. It turned yellow, but now it's turned on by Protandim. What does it do? Well, the important player here is that little red circle labeled NRF2. That's the biochemical messenger that needs to send information to the DNA in the nucleus of every cell in your body. And it's being held outside. The messenger is stuck to a blue protein there called KEAP1. And that complex is modified by this kinase. And what you can see is a little yellow group was added to NRF2. It's been chemically modified. So that activated enzyme caused by Protandim ringing the doorbell, if you will, has modified NRF2, changed its structural shape. It looks different to the blue protein that's holding it. And as a result, the blue protein lets go of the NRF2. The blue protein, by the way, is stuck to the skeleton of the cell, so it's outside the nucleus. And that's where it's been holding NRF2. Now that NRF2 has been modified, it's released by the blue protein, and it's free to diffuse into the nucleus of every cell where the DNA resides. The DNA is the master blueprint for that cell, contains the plans for producing everything that cell needs to make. When Protandim goes in there, when NRF2 goes in there, it now has access to 25,000 genes that are in the nucleus of every cell in your body. And about 400 or 500 of those genes have receptors where that NRF2 can bind and act. You can think of it as a key and a lock, or you can think of it as an electrical switch that gets flipped. The NRF2 finds the 500 genes that it can modify, it binds to them, it turns on that gene, and the end result is all 500 of those genes upregulate the thing that they encode, the blueprint for which they are for some product that the cell makes. So in this case, protective enzymes are produced in response to Protandim. That's how it works in a nutshell. The actual biochemistry is a little more complicated, but not much. Seriously, that's very close to the way I would explain this to my peers. That's what Protandim does. Activates NRF2, the cell makes more of its protective survival-related enzymes. So here I'm using a slightly different twist on the theme, stay tuned with Protandim. If you look up tune in a dictionary, which I did here, Merriam-Webster online, you type in tune, and you find that there's several definitions. It's to adjust musical pitch. Everyone's familiar with that. You can tune an instrument, you can tune a piano. It brings it into harmony. It's a way of adjusting something for precise functioning, so you can take your car into a mechanic and you can tune up the engine. It's to make more precise, more intense, or effective. And here at definition 1, the example given there is tuned her guitar. Okay, so you can tune something to the right frequency, the right pitch. And if you look this definition up a few years from now, I'm hoping at the bottom there may be an addition. As, for example, Grandma tuned her genome with